That's Nick.
And that's Joseph, and today we're here to talk about Tammy's Always Dying. I keep wanting to say Tammy and the Bachelor. It is opening May 1st, 2020, courtesy of Quiver Distribution. It is the sophomore film of Amy Jo Johnson, and it premiered at the 2019 Toronto International Film Festival because it's a Canadian film. Interestingly enough, Ms. Johnson was a thespian, best known for playing I believe it's the Pink Power Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh shit!
In the 1990s, yes. So,
what was her first film?
Something called The Space Between from 2017, which I did not see.
Okay. I liked this movie. I liked it more than Nick did.
Yes, you did.
But I did really like it. It's about a young woman whose mother is a drug addict, alcoholic, presumably I presume she's a sex worker, although we don't see that.
Depression issues.
She doesn't know who her dad is, but she does have a father-like figure who runs a bar, a gay man. She works at this bar. The opening scene is... So the young woman's name is Kathy, and her mom is Tammy. Tammy's played by Felicity Huffman, and Kathy's played by...
Anastasia Phillips.
So we see good old Felicity Huffman walking on a bridge and then climbing over it as if she's going to jump off. And then Kathy rolls up and tells her mom, I don't want you to jump. And it's very clear this is a routine that they have. So she gets her off the bridge. Tammy convinces her daughter to take her to breakfast, which also seems like part of their routine. They have their talk. A very unhealthy relationship.
Yeah.
Kathy works at a bar, like I said, with her dad figure.
And they like to go off to Toronto and live out fantasy lives pretending to be other people.
They have I thought a really sweet ritual where whenever she has a bad day, to counteract her mom. So her mom, Tammy, whenever it's close to the end of the month and her money's run out, she wants to kill herself, which corresponds with Kathy having a bad day. So her gay dad takes her to this fancy bar in Toronto where they pretend to be royalty and a princess and talk about their issues. And I thought that was lovely. But anyway, Tammy ends up getting sick.
She has stage 4 lung cancer, we find out, which necessitates her moving in with her daughter.
She gets on chemo.
And kind of responds well to it, actually.
Responds well to it, but she's told she only has 6 to 10 months to live. During that process, so we find out that Kathy is having an affair with a married man. She also drives a raggedy-ass car, so she's been saving up for that. And good old Tammy Crackhead finds the money and presumably blows it on drugs or something. So what I also thought was a really fun scene is Kathy gets upset, grabs a saw. So the bridge that Tammy likes to jump off of has a safety net. So if she ever were to jump off, she'd just fall into the net.
She'll be fine, yeah.
Kathy goes and cuts this damn net off and then brings it back to her mom and says, go ahead and kill yourself. And leaves. So another plot point is Kathy likes to watch a talk show called The Gordon Baker Show. And she decides she wants to go on the show because a feeling she has is that she's going to live her life and feel like no one ever understood who she is.
Yes.
So the bartender at this bar in Toronto that her and her gay dad would go to, she goes to him and says, hey, I need a room in the hotel. And he says, I can't help you with that, but you can stay with me. So she starts working at that hotel with her new friend. She ends up going to the Gordon Baker Show. In sort of a plot point that I thought was a little overly complicated was the Gordon Baker Show is hosted by this man, but there's this woman who's also affiliated with the show who has a book, and Kathy read the book and wants to be on the show.
Played by Lauren Holly, of course.
So she goes for a casting interview, and they apparently like her story. So they are trying to exploit her by making her cry and tell these terrible tales about her mom, which of course Kathy doesn't want to do because she wants to talk about herself. But they entice her with a check, which she uses to buy a new car. She ultimately does get on the show, but she doesn't want to play their game. She kind of tells her truth, which doesn't work well for her. But she still keeps the money. She leaves, but she gets a call
Because
her gay dad,
Dougie, played by Clark Johnson, has killed him. Or no, he doesn't kill himself.
He dies.
He dies. He was sick. We didn't realize it.
So she goes back home, realizes that, she told everyone her mom's dead, but her mom's really not dead.
Right. Even though she'd like her to be.
She'd like her to be. Kathy kind of reconciles a few things. Like, she confronts the woman whose husband she's been sleeping with. She
sprayed slut on her car.
Skank.
So
it seems like she's kind of found new direction. Like, she's resigned in like what her life is like. But the final scene is she realizes that the house where her mom is living has kind of been cleaned out. So she goes to the bridge because she suspects something's up, and she sees her mom there attempting to jump. But this time it's different because it seems like her mom just wants to end.
And there's no
everyone's suffering.
Metaphorically, the safety net is gone.
Well, literally, the safety net is gone as well.
Yeah.
So she jumps, and that's the end. Mm-hmm. The final scene is sort of a flashback to Kathy dancing as a fat ballerina.
Which is in the Nutcracker, yeah.
In the Nutcracker, because a story that her mom told early on to exemplify what a terrible mom she is she says, "Don't you remember you and I used to go to the opera and laugh at the fat kids dancing?" And then Kathy's like, "Mom, that was me in the opera. You were going there to laugh at me." But I thought it was a really sweet story. It's pretty involved. There's a lot going on.
For 85 minutes, boy, they pack a lot in there.
You know, I like that kind of shit. Like, they just put a lot in there.
It's just that some of it doesn't... It sounds like it's more over the top than it is.
Yes.
So I will give it the fact that it's not hysterical. Felicity Huffman, who I do more like than dislike in this film, is almost borderline caricature-y with her Canadian accent. But she looks kind of realistically the part. And
that's shade, but okay.
And I don't think... I don't know that...
I didn't think she was distracting.
No, but the scriptwriter, it's her debut screenplay, Joanne Sarazen, and Amy Jo Johnson, I don't think really delve into realistic things having to do with substance abuse issues, but I don't think that's the main thrust of it either. I think this is more about how we use trauma to build our narratives or as crutches, and then conversely the exploitation of that trauma for the consumption of others.
I agree. I think it did a good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt emotions a couple times, which is rare for me, so that's good.
I did really like Anastasia Phillips, who we saw in...
That's the lead?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's Kathy.
I recognized her.
We saw her...
Or does she remind me of that girl from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I don't know. She doesn't remind me of her.
Oh, so where have I seen her?
She's the mother in Don't Talk to Irene, Pat Mills' film.
Don't Talk to Irene.
About the kind of the bigger girl that teaches dancing to nursing home senior citizens.
Kathy is the mom of the big girl?
Yeah, in Don't Talk to Irene.
Oh, Kathy seems so young to have a daughter.
Yeah.
In a film that's older.
I think she looks a lot like Melanie Thierry, this French actress. But the theme, there's this like recurrent this musical tinkering. I kept thinking of this Rammstein song, "Come in My Boat," I think is the name of it, or something like that. But it's not that. But it would every time
Come in My Boat.
I remember it's Nina Haas does a cover of it, and her voice. It's very singular. But every time I heard that, I kept thinking like, oh, like the song I like, but it's not.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No.
So what would you give this film?
I think 2.5 out of 5 is fair for me.
I think I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5.
3.5.
I really did like this movie.
I was
Which
not,
surprised me.
I'm surprised that you did.
There was so much happening and in such a short amount of time. I really
that's what I wanted to say. It takes an hour to get to the game show thing, and it's almost like this is a rarity where it's a film that probably could have been padded out another 15 minutes because I would have liked more of that dynamic, because it almost got into the same territory as that Kristen Wiig movie Welcome to Me, as far as like exploring multimedia and trauma. But
sure, I would have appreciated a longer story, but I think it's efficient, it's sweet, it's quirky, it feels very indie.
It does.
But I'm into that, so I would recommend it.
Sure, yeah, I'm curious to see.
On a cold day with a nice hot cup of tea and just sit back and
heartbreak.
And just feel better about yourself or not. I don't know. I don't know people's lives, but anyway, that's all I have.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.